So we've looked at some vocabulary to help with describing and interpreting events in your reflective writing. So let's take a look at some vocabulary which is useful in terms of reflecting on the outcomes from your experiences as a reflective practitioner. And we have to remember that reflecting on outcomes is about reflecting on what you have learned from the experience and also how you might use this experience in the future. So there are two very important considerations here, looking at what is the result, what you've learned from the experience, and also how you will use this experience in future teaching. Here we can see some very useful phrases that we can use to help this reflection on outcomes. Starting a sentence with the word having and then using a verb will help you focus on what you have learned from the experience. Having read, having analyzed, having learned, having applied. These will all help you get a very clear picture for yourself on what you got from that experience. And then by adding I now, and then words like feel or realize, question or know, is helping you think about what you will do next in relation to this learning. You could also start sentences with words like additionally or furthermore in terms of describing what you have learned. Additionally, I have learned. Furthermore, I have learned. Or most importantly, I have learned. This actually will help you give weight to your thinking in relation to reflecting on the outcomes from an experience you have in the classroom. You can say things like, I have significantly, or I have slightly. Again, this gives a differential in terms of your reflection. How much have you learned? How much have you gained? Is it a lot or is it a little? I have gained significantly. I have gained less significantly, slightly. And you can then focus your thinking on what you have actually gained. Is it in skills or is it in knowledge? Is it in particular understandings about theories as they're applied in the classroom? And very simply, this means that this makes me feel. Remember, when you're looking at what you've learned, part of what you've learned is your emotional response to occurrences in the classroom, especially where you're reflecting on things like behavior management and misbehavior of students in class. And looking at outcomes, you can think of not only knowledge, but your interpretation of that knowledge, your understanding, and the skills that you're applying in the classroom. So in terms of what you've learned, you can focus your attention on these particular categories and think about, again, the depth experience that you've had. Is the knowledge that you've gained from this very important, very useful, or not so important, not so useful? And when you're focusing on skills and understanding, knowledge and ability, you're thinking very reflectively about your process very holistically as a reflective practitioner, not just in parts. Starting a sentence with because I will really focus your attention on yourself in the role as a teacher. Because I did not, because I have not yet, because I did do something. This actually links the experience you have with your own role within the classroom. And then looking forward, thinking about the language structures, the sentences that you can write in a journal whilst reflecting on outcomes. You can say something as simple as, well, as a next step, I need to do X, Y, and Z. So There are very useful structures that we can use in a journal, in a piece of reflective writing. The important thing to remember is that whatever vocabulary we use, it must help the reflection. And therefore, reflective writing is very structured rather than unstructured. Think carefully about the particular adjectives that you're using. For example, the difference between important and mildly important, slightly important, has a big impact on your reflection and the meaning that you're giving to the words that you're writing down. The important thing to remember is that whatever you do and however you do it, there are 3 stages to reflective writing. The first stage is description. The second stage is interpretation. And then the final stage is reflecting on outcomes.